his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Psalm 15 is a good way to identify Ginny's passion for what is right in life and her inclination to go out and take a stand on behalf of those who need that. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai, mi yagur bo alecha, mi yishkon bahar kodshecha, v'lech tamim u'foel tzedek, v'dover emet bilvavo. O God, who deserves to enter your sanctuary? Who merits a place in your presence? It is one who lives with integrity, who does what is right and speaks the truth in her heart, has no slander upon her tongue, does nothing hurtful to another, does not mistreat a neighbor. In her eyes, a vile person is despised, but she honors those who revere God, celebrate life. She will make a promise, even to her own detriment, and she will never use material things to take advantage of another. Whoever does these things shall stand firm forever. And from Psalm 18, Im chasid titchasad, im gavar tamim titamam, im navar titbarar, v'im ikesh titpatal. With the loyal, O God, you deal loyally. With the blameless, blamelessly. With the pure, you act purely. And with the perverse, you are wily. It is you who deliver my modest folk, but haughty eyes you humble. It is you who light my lamp. God, my God, lights up my darkness. With you, I can rush a barrier. With my God, I can scale a wall. The way of God is perfect. The word of God is pure. God is a shield to all who seek refuge. And here we turn now to the ethics of the sages, Pirkei Avot, from the oral law of Judaism. Ezehu mechubad, hamechaded et habriot. Who is it that is honored? One who honors, loves, and cherishes other human beings. Adds Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel that the deepest wisdom a person can attain is to know that their destiny is to aid, to serve. Also from the oral tradition of Judaism, the Talmud, we are told in these teachings that the tears that are shed at the passing of an Adam Kasher are so precious to God that God counts each of them and stores those tears in a divine treasure house. The sages then ask the question, well, what is an Adam Kasher? The words literally mean, by the way, a kosher person, and it does not in that context refer to food. What is an Adam Kasher, and why not the tears for an Adam Chashuv, an important person? Or why not the tears for an Adam Gadol, a great person? Why is it that it is the tears for a kosher person that God counts as treasures? When kasher is applied to a person, it is all about integrity, about goodness, a life lived in the spirit of our sacred traditions, and involves somebody who's including a life of involvement with family, service to community, and in that process, reverence for God. So, Ginny was spiritually centered, and that translated as her love of family, her love of her friends who became her family, her love of life in being with people. We're going to hear now some of the praises of Ginny, some of the ways in which she had an impact upon you who are here and those who know her through their lives, the journeys that they shared. So first, again, Hannah. I know of Hannah, I know of Louie. Then we'll see if other family want to come forward, and after that point, we'll invite the extended family, the friends, all of whom will lead up to Rosie singing her song. Oh, and we have a microphone for those whose voices are not as loud as mine.
Hello, my name is Hannah, and I'm the granddaughter of Virginia Kipilman. I lived with my grandma my whole life, and I'm very lucky, because some people didn't even get to know their grandparents. I cared for her, I loved her, I missed her. My grandma was always there for me. She had my back. She wouldn't tell anybody if I told her not to share my secrets. I could share anything with her because she had my trust. My grandma was so patient with me because when I was 3, my grandma taught me how to make pancakes from scratch with the griddle and everything. She taught me all her secrets and techniques. Since then, I make the best pancakes that you have ever laid your taste buds on. To end, I'm going to read a piece of poetry from Rumi that makes me think of her. My heart is so small, it's almost invisible. How can you place such big sorrows in it? Look, he answered, your eyes are even smaller, yet they behold the world.
Thank you. I'm going to forego the mic if that's okay, if people can hear me. Thank you. In her 78 years and 4 months on the planet, Virginia Noreen Gray managed to shoehorn about 6 or 7 lifetimes into one. As her son of 43 years and counting, I think I was a party to maybe 3 of them. It's been tremendously difficult to reflect on Mom's life without projecting regret onto it. Regret that, as tough as she wanted to present herself to everyone, and she certainly had to be tough to endure many hardships in her life, deep down, she couldn't be that tough. And she couldn't be more forthright about that vulnerability. Call it bravado, or a lack of self-awareness, or a defense mechanism, a learned behavior she needed in order to adapt. I think that intractable mindset, to her family's and friends' deep sorrow, was not an asset when her cancer was diagnosed. I could only envision a better outcome had Mom decided to seek medical help earlier. Perhaps a few more years to have her in my life and in the lives of her dearly beloved grandchildren, Colin and Hannah. My wife, Gina, reframed it for me in a way that I think is more forgiving. To not have regrets in life is to live unapologetically. And I think that's certainly how Mom lived. I've had to work through these feelings since Mom's passing to mine the good memories, and they certainly do exist. Mom made fast and lasting friendships. She had a way of collecting people who were going through tough times and comforting them with food and wine and kindness. Wine for sure. And material support, as modest as her means often were. Though it wasn't often that she would talk about her time as a single mother in her 20s, or the period of pain and trouble in the wake of my father's death, I think those experiences attuned her empathy and informed her generosity. Mom maintained close ties to her family, her mother, Adrian, her brother, Jerry, Uncle Roger, and his children and grandchildren who are so glad that they could join us today. Aunt Ruby, Cousin Caroline, among other relatives. Our frequent trips to visit them in Southern California are some of the fonder memories from my childhood. There were lots of trips to Disneyland and just as many family celebrations at Roger and Martha's house in Bellflower. To both her credit and detriment, Mom was steadfast in her belief that somehow, some way, the fates would allow her ship to come in, and the rising tide would lift the boats of all her loved ones. On occasion, we would find random slips of paper where she kept a detailed inventory of what she would bestow and upon whom when she won the lotto. If wishes were horses, Mom would have had a stable of unbeatable thoroughbreds. When Mom's health turned irrevocably worse, we kept her company at the hospital. I was in the hallway talking to the doctor as clear-eyed as I could about what could be done at that point. Meanwhile, Gina was at Mom's side, being the comforting and loving presence Mom had grown to cherish. Mom looked to the hallway and said to Gina, "There's my baby boy, the one who loves me the most." Well, when Gina relayed this to my sisters, their reaction, rightly so, was to roll their eyes and say, "Of course." Her only son, her youngest child. Not Melissa, the child she lived with, and who took constant care of her. Not Holly, the firstborn child who uprooted herself from Washington State for weeks at a time to be a caregiver. It was a simple thing she said, but I do think it needs to be unpacked a little. It wasn't the child she loved the most, but the inverse. I didn't get to tell her, but I think she had to know. I didn't love her the most. All her children loved her as equally and deeply as they could. We know that love was reciprocated and didn't need to be spoken. To close, and I pardon the redundancy for people who know this material, I'd like to repeat with a couple of edits what I posted on Facebook the day after Mom's passing. On the night of April 13th, I said goodbye to my mother, Virginia Kipilman. She passed at home, in her bed, surrounded by those who loved and cared for her in myriad ways. I am forever grateful for what she gave to me. Life, first and foremost. Maternal love, support, and sustenance, even in times when she could barely function in the face of loss and chaos. 2 wonderful sisters who loved and protected me when she couldn't. Love of reading and libraries, which nurtured a sense of imagination so dear to me. Love for the underdog. Various neuroses. Fodder for several sessions of therapy. and an unwavering adoration for her youngest child and only son, of which I've often felt less than completely worthy, but which I will hold in my heart and memory until I see her once more. I'm also truly grateful for modern medicine and the compassionate professionals in that field. Because of them, we had Mom with us 2 years longer than we thought we would. And we had her in a state that, though it was often challenging to her and those around her, was so much better than we could reasonably expect. If you would care to honor Virginia's memory, spend some time reading a book or 5. Savor a glass of red wine, and then 2 or 3 more. Go to an estate sale and buy something of questionable importance. Be sure it's large enough that it has to be delivered. Mom had a knack for that in her quest for estate sale bounty. Watch Criminal Minds and the Oprah Winfrey Network several times a day. Listen to Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye. Or just hold your own mother close, squeeze her tight, and tell her how much she means to you.
The floor is open. So for anybody who'd like to share a few words, you're welcome.
So before anyone else, there is a friend that has known my mother longer than I've been alive, named Hedda Abbott, and they met in Las Vegas, and they actually met at the same time my mother met my father. And she has her own health problems, so she was unable to be here, but she did send something that she would like to be read. It says, I met Ginny back in either December 1966 or January 1967 when she was working at a motel I was staying at. In fact, Ginny, Paul, and myself all met within a day of each other. My first experience with Ginny was going to her apartment and Holly making sure our liquor glass was never empty. I love
I
Ginny.
was 10 or something.
Those 2 or 3 lifetimes, yeah. I loved Ginny like a sister or even more. I would go visit her about once a month as I was also friends with Paul. When Melissa was small, they would pick me up at the airport. One day, Ginny had just changed Melissa's diaper, and Melissa, having her mom's teasing mean streak, took the bag with the dirty diaper and would put it under my nose. Hope Hannah did that to you, Melissa. I still loved you to pieces in spite of that, Melissa. Not to leave out Holly and Lou, I also have loved you from the day I first met you. We would go to garage sales, and when they were available, buy cherries from the stands and practically finish a bag. Ginny also had that teasing mean streak, as I would be on one of my many diets and she would buy ice cream and hold it under my nose. She would also try me in many different ways. We were connected in so many ways, even though miles separated us. When I went into labor with my son, Ginny woke up and finally fell back asleep once he was born. She had no idea I was in labor as my son arrived 1 to 3 weeks early. When I called her in the morning to tell her I'd given birth, she told me about waking up. That is a sample of the connection we had. When I first met Ginny, I was uncomfortable being hugged or showing any affection. She taught me that it was okay to hug, show affection, say I love you, and so many other positive things. She was my encouragement to breastfeed, even though at first it was quite painful. She taught me to never give up. There are so many more positive things I could say about our times, but I don't want this to get boring. I'm going to close with, I am sad that I lost my best friend and adopted sister, but at least she is out of pain. Hopefully her spirit will meet with my mom's up in heaven. She loved my mom and my mom loved her. Rest in peace, Ginny. You are definitely missed. Even though I cannot physically be with your family and friends today, I am there in